Is this what your life is about? This is the goal of your life. Not the lamentation of your enemies, not endless finance, not conquering the world, not becoming important, not becoming strong, not making the history books. No, sitting around perving on sixes, kicking a fucking ball. Who cares? Who the fuck cares about this? This is shit. If I was standing right there, I would be like, why am I here? This is shit. There's always some guy who, like, isn't original at all. I don't want to say they're all black, but all the blacks, anyway. They're not original, and they have nothing that stands out about them. So to become original, they either dress really crazy. I just saw a picture of Jaden Smith. He had a castle on his head. Let's see if we can find it. They either dress really crazy, or they come up with a really weird nickname. You'll meet the most unimpressive normal black guy. You'll be like, what's your name? They call me the Wizard Dog. Do you know magic? Nah, bro, you know, when I grew up in them streets, bro, dog, you know. I don't know. What the fuck you talking about? What do you mean? Why do they call you the wizard? What can you do? You haven't even got a wizard's hat. Yo, I left it at home, dog, but you know, I might start wearing it, bro. Yo. What the fuck? Where'd you come up with this shit name? They always come up with these shit names. Black people, unimpressive black people have some weird name. It's like an originality thing. And now we got this guy. Ward to neighbors. And if you asked him why, he'd be like, no, I got a good reason, dog. You see, when I was growing up, my name was Edward. They called me Ward. And I didn't like my neighbors. So after I robbed them, yo, I was like, Ward to the neighbors. Get a fucking job. Get a job. Get off crack. Get off Social Security. Get a fucking job. This dickhead, Izzy, pulled the reverse Piera, waved off the ref, and got sparked. LOL. Well, LMFAO. LMFAO. He got knocked out. Yeah, he went in the cage, was brave, and he lost. Have you been in the cage? Have you ever been brave in your life, Ward? I hate when people who don't have the balls to step in the cage type things like LMFAO, laughing at the warrior to feel better about being a coward. Izzy is a legend, is braver than 99.9% of men alive. Masculine men show respect to those braver than them. Hating is feminine. This is so true. If you're a man and you see another man in the cage doing something you've never done, you're inspired to go and do it. If you're a little hating feminine bitch and you see someone in the cage, you make fun of them because you don't want the world to know that you're a coward. So you try and make fun and drag that person down as opposed to accept he's your superior. Izzy is your superior, Ward. Izzy is better than you at fighting. He's more famous than you. He's richer than you. He's even fucking blacker than you. He's better than you at everything. So for you, the only thing you can do is show him respect. And you want to sit there as someone who's never been in the cage ever, and make fun of someone who's fighting at the highest possible echelon. That's because you're a feminine little bitch. That's female talk. That's what girls do. Women. Mean girl crap. Yeah, but look at her dress. When the girl's prettier than them. So I didn't like this comment from fucking Ward. Dickhead. Never mock a fighter unless you're proud enough, unless you're the one who knocked him out. If you didn't do it your fucking self, you better shut up, because Izzy would fuck you up. No, the female pilot who crashed. Of course she fucking crashed, of course. And I'm not allowed to mention it because I'm a misogynist. Women just crash helicopters, but you can't say anything about it because then, you get called names. Call her a name. A woman crashed a fucking plane. Women can't fly. You're a misogynist. She's a fucking helicopter crasher. I'd rather be a misogynist than a helicopter crasher. She's a fucking helicopter crasher. And she was warned twice. She was told she was about to collide twice. She just ignored the warning. See? No line. If the air traffic controller said, I'll beat the fuck out of you, bitch. Stop. Maybe she would have fucking saved everyone's life. Instead, she was like, girl boss, Kamala. This air traffic controller ain't touching me. Crash. 80 people dead. Just stop all women flying helicopters. Just stop. Sorry, no. Denied. Here's Jaden Smith. His name is not original enough, I guess, to do the I'm original black guy thing. So instead, he does he dresses like a retard. Here he is at some event with a castle on his head. Explain, there's a castle. Why do you have a castle on your head, Jaden? People are just living inside the box and they're living inside the castles in their mind because they're building these walls. And I just want to show everyone that inside of their brain, they have these walls that they've put up themselves and they're artificially no, because we're building walls around our mind and no one can think outside the box and take the castle off your fucking head. If your dad wasn't so busy simping, he'd beat the shit out of you. Someone needs to beat the shit out of you, and your dad's too busy chasing pussy that doesn't want him. The worst thing about me insulting all these famous people is I'm going to meet them all. When I'm free, I'll be at the same event as them. And they'll be looking at me like, he made fun of me on an emergency meeting. And I'll be looking at them back like, yeah.
Even though he's your dad, I'll give you some experience based on my life. I don't know anything about construction, but even though he's your dad, I still think that men understand each other on a primal level. And if you're going to sit there and try, I don't know who you are and I don't know who your father is, but if you're going to sit there and try and tell your father what to do, you need to be a very impressive person. It's kind of amazing what kind of advice you can give out when you're an impressive person versus the advice you can give when you're not. If you're overweight yourself, or if you're lazy, if you're missing days at work, if you're barely turning up, if your dad thinks you're a shit worker, you can't sit there and tell him about anything about his life because he's not going to listen to you. Yep. So if you really want to have an impact on your dad, you need to be the kind of guy that can't be ignored. This is what's truly amazing about the masculine experience. I have so many people message me, and I get thousands of emails a day, and people are always looking for this hack or this cheat or this quick way to achieve something. You have to just become the man. There's no other way to really do a lot of things. But I guarantee your dad doesn't even know me, but I guarantee if I were to speak to him for 10 minutes, because of the way I would articulate myself, because of the way I would express my opinion, because of who I am, because of my physicality, because of the car I turn up in, he'd probably be more likely to listen to me than you, his own son. Why? That's your fault. And that's something you've decided to be. It's a decision you've decided to make. And this is what I don't understand. I truly don't understand how most men don't wake up and think, shit, I'm not good enough. And I think you need that degree of insecurity, I guess, and anxiety that's going to propel you towards the top, because there's always more work to do. And you're competing against people like us who are out here to destroy you. And that's the reality of the game. No. I'll tell you something. You could.
You could be.
You could be an idiot. It's very rare in life that being likable is a downside. It's very rare in life where being a likable person is going to go against you. And there's so many people out here who think if they get to a certain kind of state, my very best, even with people I disagree with, even with people I'm arguing with, to make them like me. Towards the end of it, they like me. You should be more likable. If this woman really liked you as a person, I think you would have been able to give her a small correction in her action without her accusing you of sexual harassment. So if you want to be a professional, you need to sit and say, why does this person dislike me enough to try and destroy my life?
And again, back to the same point, I know we're kind of beating the same thing in, but if you were that dude, you can take the same woman and take two different guys. They could tell that woman the same exact thing, and one will get a sexual harassment charge and the other one will get a phone number.
That's right.
So if you're that dude and you're likable and you're witty and you have good people skills like Andrew's talking about, then more than likely you wouldn't even be in the situation in the first place.
Yeah, true. My crypto ledger got compromised for $115K last week. I'll come to the conclusion that God wanted me to suffer. How do I become a stronger man from this? I got a question recently in my inbox of a guy whose brother had gambled away $2.4 million of the family's inheritance. So his father had died and his brother had gambled away $2.4 million. His brother's 48 years old, fat, slob, gambler. And this guy was at zero. And I said to him, you know what? God has given you an amazing opportunity via your brother. Your brother has given you an amazing opportunity because obviously your father was a great enough man to accumulate $2.4 million of money after taxes, by the way, that went to you. And the fact that he got rid of it is God showing you and offering you the chance to prove yourself and to make that money back by yourself. Now, obviously, if you have a family member like that, you could cut someone off, don't do business with them, don't give them access to your bank accounts, but still love them. I mean, he's 48. Maybe he won't change in his ways, but you can still love someone and care about someone without completely cutting them off. You don't have to be cutthroat about it, Just make sure he doesn't have your debit cards. Make sure he doesn't have access to your money. You've had experiences like this, haven't you, Justin? People trying to screw you over for money in your own family.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had family do it, and I still love them. And you just have to distance yourself from them. I'll tell you something I learned one time. I did this seminar once when I was early 20s, and the question was there was an exercise, and the question was rate your relationship with your mother 1 to 10, and everybody in the room that rated it 10 was because they went to lunch twice a week, because they talked on the phone. Anybody that rated it bad was because they didn't have a lot of contact with them or whatever. The way you should rate your relationships with other people is, what is it that makes it a 10 out of 10 to you? And my answer at that time was a 10 out of 10 based off the exercise, because when I would show up, my parents respected me. I didn't talk to them as much because they had their own problems in their life, particularly my mother. But when I showed up in the room, she respected me enough to give all my siblings the heat, but would never come at me with the smoke. And so for that reason, it was a 10 out of 10. And even now, as sick as my mother is, bless her heart, my relationship with her is a 10 out of 10 because she's not there. You know what I'm saying? And I can just take that part of my life and move on. And so you have to look at your relationships with other people as what is the relationship with you? What do you want out of the relationship? And you can make it a 10 out of 10, even if it's loving them from a distance. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's also there where you said about she doesn't want to smoke. It kind of ties back into the point I made earlier about being likable. I'm going to go back to that sexual harassment guy because I don't believe his story, but let's just say his story is completely true. And let me ask you a question as a professional. If you were jacked, if you were in fantastic shape and you were an amazing dresser and you drove the best car in the company and you were funny and witty and charming, and every time you saw that woman, you made her laugh and she smiled when she was around you, would she have accused you of sexual harassment if you told her off the same way? No. So you have to take absolute and utter accountability in your life as a man. For everything. It's all your fault. There's nobody else's fault. It's your fault. And I was literally sitting in jail with a bullshit garbage case, which I know is all imaginary, saying this is my fault somehow. You have to find out, otherwise you don't get the lesson in it. The guy who had the 2.4 million gambled or the guy who lost 115 grand, that's your fault. Yep. Good. What have you learned from it? Have you actually learned anything, or are you just sitting there going, I wish I had it back? Because if you didn't learn anything, you lost it all for nothing, right?
Yep.
And if you did genuinely learn something, then you're going to change your life for it. Because I don't think most people can learn anything unless it's painful. I've never seen people learn lessons the easy way. When someone learns a lesson the easy way, do you know what they think? They think, I got away with it.
Yep.
Over and over again until it eventually burns and stings them. And that's the only time they learn. Humans only learn the hard way. So when you finally get a hard lesson, fantastic. However you lost that 115 grand, I guarantee it won't happen again unless you're a dummy. You need to pay attention to it. So you need to be happy that these lessons come. You just have to make sure you ingest them and you don't allow them to happen to you again.
Yep. And I'll add to that, one thing that's really important that keeps you in control is if you ever blame it on anything but yourself, you've now relinquished control of the situation, which means you've given up the power to blame it on you. It will happen to you again, and it'll be your fault because you didn't take control of the situation.
You know what? 5.5, 6 years ago, I was invested in a crypto coin. I'd asked Andrew to withdraw some money into our bank accounts, invest in this crypto coin. I was very new to cryptocurrency. Long story short, for those who will understand the jargon, I had my private key in my email inbox. A virus scanned my computer, took it, and I lost $200,000, which 6 years ago was a lot of money to me. And I shrugged, said, Andrew, I fucked up. My bad. Move on. And that kind of shit will never happen to me again. Andrew, my girlfriend lied about her body count while we dated for a few months. She doesn't want to lose me, but now I found out that it's a lot higher than I originally thought. She wants me to give her another chance. What do I do?
Yeah, dishonesty is a bad thing, but it's hard to comment. I don't know how good or bad your relationship is. The fact that it started dishonestly is bad. Honestly, it depends on, of course, how you found out as well. But you know, I people will probably notice I don't comment on dating and stuff as much as I used to.
True.
I actually think there's so many things that are a better use of time than just endlessly fucking. Maybe I'm getting old and religious. I don't know. But when I see these dudes online talking about this girl, that girl, this girl, that girl, I think that is such a waste of time. I don't even like commenting on the whole subject anymore. I've kind of moved away from it. But if she makes you happy and she shows you respect and you truly believe she's the girl for you and she treats you the way a man should be treated and you're happy, then be happy. And you just have to find out why she lied to you in the first place. Maybe she was insecure about it. Maybe she understood you'd judge her. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. But I don't comment on that whole space anymore because I think something I don't know what's happened, but there are some guys on Twitter and some guys on YouTube, etc., that talk constantly about pickup and all these kind of things. Personally, I think I have so many important things to do. I don't have time to be endlessly sleeping with endless.
Can you put the pipe out? Idea number one. First things first, I want to give testament to the city of the future. There's only one city on the planet that has its priorities in order, which is the city we are currently indulging and enjoying, Dubai. True. I actually truly believe that within this cyclical, I truly believe within the cyclical nature of empires that is the time for the Middle East to shine and to thrive. I think one of the key words across the next 10 years is going to be energy. The Middle East is certainly full of it. And when it comes to things like safety, security, avoiding the influence of the devil, the Middle East have a whole bunch of things going for them. And I really truly believe that not just the United Arab Emirates, but also countries like Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia I believe it's going to be a fantastic time for the Middle East as a whole, but that is obviously going to be spearheaded by the UAE and Dubai as a whole. This is truly a city which cannot be paralleled by basically any metric by any other civilized city on earth. If you're looking for safety, if you're looking for security, if you're looking for things to do, if you're looking for luxury, if you're looking for a safe place to invest, if you're looking for a place which is forward thinking, if you're looking for a place full of people where you can do business, you can network, you can do important, interesting things, looking for a secure place to raise a family, it doesn't matter what metric you are looking at, Dubai is basically unbeatable in the modern world.
You know what it reminds me of? There's a movie I watched about 3 or 4 years ago with Matt Damon in it called Elysium.
Matt Damon.
Where everyone was living in a squalid shithole.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, exactly.
Matt Damon. Matt Damon.
Where everyone else was living in squalor and a shithole with bad health care and all
Don't
this kind of
swear.
crap. And obviously, up in space, something like that. And up in space, there was this perfect paradise where everybody lived in safety and had good health care and nice houses and the lawns were green and stuff. And that is basically Dubai in this modern day and age. When you look at San Francisco, LA, Milan, Rome, Paris, the cities that used to be amazing compared to Dubai, this truly is the place to be. So yeah, you're completely right.
The baseline of existence, the first thing you're going to care about when crap hits the fan, I'm trying to swear, is of course you're going to care about your safety and security and energy. There's no such thing as a country without energy. This is what Europe's current problem is. They're having energy problems. And they're like, oh, it's only an energy problem. Only. Without energy, there is nothing else. There's nothing else. There's no safety. There's no security. There's no business. There's no functioning. There's no growth. There's no food. Nothing. Energy is the bottom baseline. First thing the Middle East has is a bunch of energy, but the second thing you're going to look at is safety and security. Here you are safe. And it's different. Obviously, we're big G's. We're hard to kill. But the average person with family, kids, etc., they cannot be living looking over their shoulder all the time. So I strongly and super absolutely not recommend people to take a closer look at the Middle East. It is the place to be for the future. Absolute respect to the leaders here and their forward thinking and their vision, while also retaining the traditional values and the religious values which keep society coherent. That's very important, because if you're too forward thinking in the wrong direction, you lose coherence and society breaks down at a fundamental level. Dubai is a place where families can still exist, where you can get married still, you can have children, you can go to the hospital and be looked after correctly, you can go to a good school, you can wear a nice watch, you can be successful without fear. Truly a beautiful place. I truly think Dubai is a city of the future.
Yeah, and it's all down to, I know Dubai has, obviously, it had its oil wealth, and this whole region is filled with oil wealth, but Nigeria has oil wealth too, so there are lots of African states. It is the leadership that drives it in this direction. All the resources in the world are no good without leadership. It's like having all the power behind a car's engine in the world, but the driver is terrible and he also crashed into trees.
Correct. So based on that, my first business idea to talk to you about
To me.
We begin. Many young men are under the impression that manhood is elevating themselves with their mouths void of anything behind it. And you couldn't be more wrong. They confuse the idea of peacocking, which is, I believe, is quite a masculine trait. People think that if you're truly secure, you don't want a nice car, you don't want a fancy watch. I disagree. I think since the beginning of human time, men have always peacocked. We've always shown our value with material things. It doesn't matter if we went to war and killed the enemy and took a feather from the enemy and put it in our hat. Doesn't matter if we chopped their enemy's heads off. Doesn't matter if we took a piece of gold and wore it around our neck that we stole from some village we raided. We've always been peacocking to a degree. We've always been showing the world that we're valuable and that we're successful and that we've done something important. And peacocking is very important, but men have got this confused and they think that they can just use their mouths to elevate themselves without any genuine substance behind it. And that's one of the largest mistakes, because that shows, one, insecurity, and two, when you're genuinely tested, and God will make sure that you are, you're going to fail. So it's very important you're not the kind of person who thinks, I understand I need to elevate myself as a man. I understand I need to be high status. I understand I need to be respected. I'm going to do that with a big mouth and no genuine capability to back that up. That's one of the biggest mistakes. In fact, it's extremely feminine.
And God's going to test you if you keep running your mouth.
God's going to test you. I really believe the reason we went to jail is because we became the most famous men in the world for our mental fortitude. And if you're going to be called the top G, and we're going to be the Tate brothers, and we're going to be known for our mental fortitude, God is going to test our mental fortitude by throwing us in a Romanian dungeon surrounded with cockroaches. There's no way you can become the top G of the planet. There's no way you can become the most famous brothers on earth and be respected for your mental fortitude and all the things you teach, and God not test you.
Because there are people out in the world who preach mental fortitude, etc., who break down when ever anything difficult happens to them.
Absolutely. And God is always watching. So it's very important you're not just somebody with a big mouth. You have to have some genuine things to back it up. Substance. And I feel like a lot of you didn't have a present father or a strong father figure to emulate. So you have no frame of reference for masculinity. So you see these idiots with a big mouth online. You think having a big mouth is going to be enough. And it's not enough for God. It's not enough for the reality of the world, because if you walk around with a big enough mouth, eventually you're going to get checked. You can get the shit kicked out of you. Yep. And it's also not enough for females. You need to understand that if you convince a woman you're high value with your mouth and your mouth alone, sooner or later, she's going to realize you are a liar. And that is when she's going to leave you. So if you're sitting at home thinking, well, I had this girl, she thought I was the man. A few months later, she's not that interested in me. Yeah, because she got to know you better. She saw behind the bravado, and she saw that you don't really have any genuine real world achievements. You haven't really done anything that's super interesting. You have to do things that make men respect you for women to respect you. And usually those things require a degree of bravery. Men have always been respected for our bravery. We did the brave thing, and it is the brave thing on the other side of fear, which is going to build your character and build your internal self-belief. But it's also going to build a magic inside of you that a woman can see when she looks inside of your eyes. It's also going to build a magic inside of you that people can see when they look in your eyes. When people look in my eyes, they know I've been brave, and they know I'll be brave again. And they don't want to test my bravery because they know it exists, and they know it's been tested. They know it is real. So this is very important. People confuse this and say, oh yeah, confident men don't talk, confident men don't brag. And they're saying that because a lot of people who are bragging have nothing to back it up. Once again, I slightly disagree. If you have enough to back it up, you are allowed to brag. But you have to make sure there are real world achievements and you're not living in any kind of delusion. Absolutely everything as a man is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to become your best and brightest version of yourself. And you're not going to do that simply by talking it into existence. You need to live it into existence. You need to go out there and do things which are genuinely difficult, genuinely stressful, which are genuinely scary, so you can become the man you want to be. So you have to take responsibility for these things, and you have to seek them and choose and find the correct difficulties for you to overcome so you can build a character worth having. It's the information that you absorb and what you do with it that will ultimately mold and shape who you want to become. So every single one of you who is watching this, you're in the right place at the right time. We're going to give you some very important information today. I hope you implement it and you use it to the best version of yourself. But it's also very important that you create the world you live in. You create your reality. You create the information you absorb, and you're not sitting there absorbing garbage from loudmouth idiots or matrix programming that's designed to keep you inside of the slave mind. You have to be very careful with the things you consume. So I want you to think at home, before we read the super chats, which we're about to do, I want you to think, besides your loud mouth, what do you have that make people know you're truly a man? What do you have? I can name some things, right? People walk in my house, they can see, okay, I'm financially successful. They look at my body, they know I'm motivated, disciplined, I'm extremely strong. They look at my world title belts, they know I can fight. They look at the woman on my arm, they know that I am worthy of respect because she treats me with absolute respect. They look at my network, they see that men treat me with absolute respect. I don't have to open my mouth and people can instantly look at me and go, okay, he has X, Y, and Z. If you couldn't talk, you put on a t-shirt, you put on some jeans, and you can't talk, and you're walking around the world. When people look at you, why do they see you as a high value man? Do you have anything you project? Do you project true bravery? Do you project true confidence? Or do you need to talk to try and convince people of these things? They say confidence is quiet. It can also be very loud, but you don't want to live in a delusion. That's the first thing. So I want every single person here who's actually taking notes to think, if I can't talk, how am I judged? If I can't speak, what do people think of me? How am I projecting my value to the world if I can't say a word? You know, God decided it had to happen. He wanted me to learn some things or just suffer through some things, and that's fine. And then perhaps maybe God also did that to the world so that my words were more appreciated when I came out. Now, when I say things, people might finally listen to me, and maybe the world will change. Maybe it was part of the path. Allah is the best of planners. I'm not going to sit here and say I know more than God. If God decides I have to go back to jail forever, then that is God's decision. And it's my job as a man to sit here and suffer and please him. That's my job. And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do my push-ups until the day I die. If I could be 83 years old doing push-ups in my cell, that's what I'm going to do. If you adopt what they want you to believe, your mental model is so destroyed that you'll believe anything you are told. What do you call somebody who believes anything they are told without reason or proof?
What do you call someone who believes everything? People are sheep.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is why they're trying to instill certain ideas which you know to be false, and which most people know to be false.
But why does it?
That's why they find me so dangerous, because I sit here and combat these ideas. Now, everybody believes in something. Everybody has a religion to some degree. There's no such thing as an atheist. Everybody believes in something. Every single atheist I ever speak to has some strong belief. They believe in liberalism or whatever flag they want to worship. So you have to sit there and decide, as a human, if we're not sophisticated enough to not have a religion of sorts or have a creed which we adhere to, then which religion am I going to believe in? Which religion am I going to adhere to, which is going to advance my life and be the best for the people around me? And the answer to that for me is God and Islam. So you sit and say, why are they pushing these agendas on men? Because these people are empty-minded. If they were strongly believing in God, they would have strong principles, and they wouldn't be able to adopt these principles which are being pushed upon them. If you have an empty mind and you have no baseline morality and you have no rule set, then you could adopt anything. Why? And I'll ask you this, Aiden. Why is pedophilia bad? Why is it bad? The law says it's bad. Why is it bad?
Morally, it's incorrect.
Morally, it's very incorrect. But I'm saying if the law were to come along and say it's not wrong anymore, would you still think it's wrong?
For sure, 100,000,000%. But
baseline morality, which is installed inside of you, that makes you understand that some things are right and some things are wrong, regardless of what the law says. Where do you think that comes from?
The heart within, intuition. God, yeah, of course, intuition, God. But that's why, like Andrew, like now I'm seeing now it's getting so bad. I'm seeing it pushed on the children. These agendas.
Well, that's how you control the future, Aiden.
Oh,
you change children's mind, and then you control the future. If you think generationally, if you want a certain outcome in 100 years from now, there's no point convincing you and me. We'll be dead.
For a man, your contentment will come from your purpose, and it will come from your competence, and it will come from succeeding objectives. It will come from completing difficult things that other people cannot complete. It will never come from the easily accessible hedonism, which you have confused for fun. If everybody can do it, you shouldn't want to do it. If everybody can go to that concert, you shouldn't want to go. If everybody can go to that club, you shouldn't want to go. You should only want to do things others can't do. The only fun I have is doing things I know you're not allowed to do. Putting my Bugatti on an A380 and flying it around the world to a racetrack, which I've rented out for only me and only my friends to race around cars. You can't do that. I can. That is fun. But if you say to me, Andrew, come to this party, and I say, well, who's there? Everyone. Oh, everyone's there. Does that mean I need to go? Right? It's the event of the century. Ooh, everyone's there. If everyone's there, it's trash. So you need to sit there and go, all right, I'm being asked to do something fun. Who else can do this? And if the answer is everybody, stop. I clear my emails. I've trained hard that day. I made a couple $1 million. I've spec'd a brand new car. I've checked on all the people I love, all the people I care about. I've donated some money to charity. My children are fed. Their mothers are taken care of. Everything is in order. Everything is in its proper place. That is fun. If you say to me, Andrew, skip a portion of that organization and professionalism so that we can go and do something that everyone else can do, my answer will be no. That does not sound fun to me. And the fact that you think that's fun shows that you have a severe mental deficiency. Okay. Stay away from it. You're only going to find actual fun through purpose. And you're only going to find purpose through exceptionalism. So you need to become the best possible version of yourself in all realms. That's extremely important. The reason you are so unhappy is because you are trying to have fun. You're unhappy because you're trying to have fun instead of trying to become important. They are very different things, and you're never going to feel satisfied in your heart unless you become important. Please imagine.
And being important is fun.
Oh, it's absolutely fun. Please imagine, and I don't state this with arrogance, please imagine for a second you're the most Googled man on the planet. And you're a kickboxing world champion, and you have hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're built like a tank. Imagine how you feel when you look in the mirror. Nothing can match that, and nothing can beat that. As a man, you need to have struggle in your life. And I want you guys to actually sit and think, what struggle are you going through daily? What struggle are you undertaking? What struggle are you trying to overcome? Because you should make a list of them. I can know for myself, every single day I wake up and I train physically. Every single day I have to go through X amount of physical pain when my day begins. That is a struggle that must be completed. Then I must try and keep my massive empire online, see my children, take care of everybody. There's struggle involved. My life is difficult. Difficult lives are fulfilling because we used to have to hunt and fish and go out there and go through difficulty to survive. And I often see that when I speak to people who are too comfortable, they end up being unhappy.
Yeah.
You can't entertain yourself to happiness. You must earn happiness. You must climb a mountain. You must struggle yourself to happiness. That's extremely important. There must be physical, mental, social, creative, some kind of spiritual struggle.
And those things being satisfied is what's going to satisfy you. It's like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a mathematical equation. You solve the equation, you get a Bitcoin. Life is very much the same. There's struggles, there's difficulties which you have undertaken, which you have adopted to try and complete. And when you finish those things, then you get satisfaction as a reward. That's the Bitcoin. The only other alternative to that, to feel good, is hedonism, which is drugs and alcohol. And that's not going to satisfy you for very long. And it's also going to destroy your life. So it's extremely important. This is actually why people are addicted to video games. Young men are addicted to video games because it mimics virtually what they ought to be doing in the real world.
Yeah.
Effort in to upgrade their character to become a better version of themselves so they can do better things than they could previously do and explore new areas of the map. The areas of the map which are Bugatti convention, flying there on a private jet to sit with billionaires.
The Grand Casino Monaco is a cool area of the map that you have not unlocked yet, but it's great.
Which requires you to upgrade your character as a person. You understand this in video games, and you do it in video games because it's very interesting to do. However, you don't want to do it in the real world. But in the real world, it's so much more rewarding. And I'm actually going to argue that we're living in one of the final periods where that's true. I'd say in a few generations, who you are and who your physical body is may not matter nearly as much.
No, but it does matter today. A lot.
Exactly. So that's why you should enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
So you need to pick the low-hanging fruit first. And the starting block to all of these things is your body. I believe if you lift, stretch, move, improve your body, try and train MMA, learn how to fight, get stronger, get bigger muscles, it's a fast track to self-discipline, which will carry over into all other endeavors. And I would argue that is nearly impossible. In fact, how many people can say the gym saved their life? How many people do you know were depressed, started training, got in fantastic shape, and weren't depressed anymore? It is very easy. The low-hanging fruit is your body and upgrading your body. That is the easiest struggle, which is never going to backfire on you and never going to be a negative towards any other facet of your life. And when I look at men who are physical specimens, I think everyone naturally does this, but I'm going to openly say it. I respect them differently than I look at men who aren't. I have a different level of respect for them because they show me they have discipline. They show me they have motivation. They show me they're capable of doing difficult and hard things. Those are the kind of people I trust. They're not afraid of struggle. They're problem solvers. People who train are problem solvers, and you need to become one, and you need to become very, very adept at solving problems pretty quickly. I actually find it amazing that there's people out there who aren't in perfect physical condition. Guys, let me tell you all a news flash. If you eat right and you train hard, you look good.
Yeah.
It's like a biological certainty. It's almost impossible to be fat and look bad if you eat right and train hard. Your body will react and give you exactly what you want. So why don't you all look like superheroes? Do you not understand how intimidating that is just when they look at a group of people and they all look like superheroes and they can tell they're all disciplined, all hardworking, all dedicated, all physically strong? The struggle is what's beautiful about it. That's the most important thing. That's what you have to understand.
Yeah, because no matter how rich you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter what family you're born into, you can only get into shape the same way as everybody else. So you could be Mark Zuckerberg, who's now in shape and he's a billionaire, but you can't say, oh, he bought it. He didn't buy it. He's just in great shape because he earned it like everyone else. You can be flat broke or rich as fuck. If you're in good shape, you had to earn it. It's as simple as that. So yeah, it says a lot about who you are as a person.
First, you want to become as strong as physically possible. So you want to be as strong as physically possible. Next, you want to try and make as much money as possible. Not even necessarily for the money, although money is extremely important because it allows you to take care of yourself. We talked about this before, but there's a challenge involved, and solving that challenge is going to make you feel more satisfied as a human. Happiness comes from success, and making money is success. You should try and make people around you smile and be happy. You should try and encourage positivity around you. You should be the kind of person that no one can really complain about their struggles around because they know that you're the person who's going to be like, why are you complaining when you could just simply fix it? Especially successful people. Successful people are uninterested in stealing because we'd rather everybody win and keep the friendship and keep the network and keep the positive organs and keep the good karma than make a little bit extra money. So it's amazing what you see in the world. And if you become a person who is happy and successful and can take care of himself and adopt struggles, you're going to start finding those other people who do the same thing, and then you're going to build a network and become fantastic. Live with men you're in competition with. So you and your friends need to have friendly competition at all times. Now, you need to meet your friends, and you need to have banter and competition around things that matter. Who's got the most money? Who's worked hardest? Who's discovered XYZ? Crypto, stock, new way of generating income? Who's trained that day? Who has the most children? Put some actual competitions together that matter and start competing and being around people, because you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Everybody knows this. So why do you get some genuine metrics that will improve your life? You won't have time to stand around cooking meals if you're friends with somebody who works out for 3 hours a day, for example, because you're going to need to find 3 hours a day to train to beat him, which means you're going to have to just eat that rotisserie chicken as you do squats like a man should. Live with men you're in competition with. This is ultra important, because you can measure yourself against your circle. If Tristan comes downstairs and says, I've done 1,000 push-ups, I will do anything it takes to do 1,001 just to annoy him, because I know that he then has to do 1,002. And pissing him off is worth it. It's always worth it. And that's why you need to have that kind of competition. Get your act together, get some genuine metrics, things that matter, and once they're all put together, you're going to live in a naturally competitive environment, which is going to increase your testosterone level. It's going to prevent you from doing a lot of dumb shit. And the competition one's great, because you can apply it to everything.
There are a lot of people who are going to get, kicked in the nuts and take a fall, and they're going to let it beat them down. Andrew's lost very important kickboxing matches. Did he quit fighting then? Did I quit fighting when I got my ass kicked a couple times? No, you don't. You just have to continue, because in life, there are only winners and losers. There are no participation trophies. There's no, stickers and everyone's invited to have a good time. Life is hard, and everyone in life is actually trying to play the same game. If you're a sportsman, there's a small pool of people who compete at kickboxing, professional soccer, and the bigger the pool is, the more difficult it is. Well, life is the only game where every single one of us, 8.1 billion people, is trying to play the exact same game. And the same game is, there's only so much money in the world. There's only so many resources. There's only so much happiness. I'm going to try to provide for my family as best as I can. And whether people say money's not important or is important, everyone's part of this game. So winning is very difficult. And you have to keep trying when you get kicked and you fall down. And that's the advice I give to every young man who listens to me.
People are afraid of accepting there's a problem, because then they know they have a responsibility towards fixing it. Yeah. And they don't want to do anything, one, because they're lazy, and two, because they're afraid they might lose. So they'd rather pretend there's no problem at all. And I think I often say to people in a lot of my videos about a lot of other subjects that it's not always the winning and the losing. It's the fighting in the first place. And there's plenty of men in history you remember who ended up losing in the end. Napoleon, for example, who still fought, which is why they mattered. It's not, if you're only going to fight when you're guaranteed to win, then no bravery is required. And you have to fight so that you can look back on your life and feel happy that you tried to do something when you knew it was going on before it was too late. Forget about the winning and losing for now. Focus on the fight. You must wait for the moment when the opponent's mind is scattered and strike without hesitation. If you do not overcome your tendency to give up so easily, your life will lead to nothing. Objectify your demons so you control them instead of them controlling you. Fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. You have to train your mind to be stronger than your emotions, especially your impulses, or else you're going to lose yourself. You will only be found by the devil once you are lost, and he will lead you to hell. Most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by men who kept fighting when there seemed to be no hope at all. I think it's a good motto, perhaps, for life, for everyone who's watching this. I heard it during a boxing match, and I think it was between Evander Holyfield against some guy who's not nearly as well known. And Holyfield was losing, and then he starts swinging, hitting the guy. And the commentator said, "Suddenly the champion returns with initiative and vengeance." That's a good slogan for life. You should wake up, look in the mirror, and say, "Suddenly the champion returns with initiative and vengeance." That's a good way to start your day every single day.
Yeah, it is.
Initiative and vengeance to become the best possible version of yourself. So anyway, every single system you rely on that exists out in the world today, every single organization, every single thing they say is required to preserve the sanctity of society. The judicial system, the medicinal system, the educational system, the justice, everything you can name is corrupt. All of it's a scam. All of it's a scam. The education system, of course, is a scam. Because what they're trying to do is train you to be a good slave inside of the matrix. They're not interested in training you how to escape the matrix. So anybody who sits there and brags about how well they do inside of the education system is simply bragging about how good of a slave they are. And they will stay a slave forever. Of course, everything I just said is a lie. Do not use it against me in a court of law. I made it all up. I'm a liar.
Okay. Great.
So, when your cousin at the Christmas table is saying, "Hey, I did so good in college," what they're really saying is, "I'm a fucking geek. I belong inside of the slave system, and I have no interest in trying to escape." The reason they hate people like you and I, Tristan, is because we're teaching people to escape the matrix. And we've described at length that if you are inside of the matrix, regardless of how successful you are, you're still always going to be beholden to a company. And that company is going to tell you what you're allowed to say on social media, which means they can control your thoughts. And by controlling enough people's thoughts, they can control the information which is out there in the world, which bends and shapes reality in real time. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it make a sound? The point being, if nobody points out the glaringly obvious because they're afraid to lose their job, then the glaringly obvious isn't real anymore. Instead, you're going to sit there and pretend things that aren't true because you have to, because you got to feed your kids, because you're inside the matrix. Got to get out. You can only get outside the matrix by making money for yourself. Outside of these corps, outside of fucking weirdo org, and the educational system won't teach you how to do any of that. In fact, learning business from a business professor at school who's broke is the biggest waste of time you can possibly undertake.
They don't have businesses.
Yeah. They don't have businesses.
I mean, that sounds like something very obvious, but there are millions of people studying business worldwide. Imagine learning kickboxing from a man who can't kickbox and has never had a kickboxing fight. Would you? I'm going to learn the piano, okay? I'm going to get there. He's going to teach me about the notes, the keys, the scales, but he can't play piano. He's just reading off pieces of paper. That's essentially what you're doing by learning business from somebody who doesn't own and run a successful business.
Most of you at home will realize I'm one of the smartest people on the planet, and I've come up with all my theories and all of my knowledge and wisdom from basic perspicacity. I'm not really a book reader because reading books doesn't teach you anything. You only learn through experience. I've lived a very varied life, and I've learned lots of things. And what I've learned is, of course, I have no scientific backing or proof for this. I just say things and they happen to be true. That if you work hard while everyone else is resting, for some reason, that work you do is double as powerful. It's almost like God is watching the world and he has a big pile of benefits. And he's sitting there looking down on earth and he's saying, who's doing work right now so I can give them some benefits? I only have so many benefits per day I can hand out. And on a normal day, X amount of billion people are doing work, so he hands out some benefits. But on a day when everyone else is being lazy, when you do work, when he divvies up the benefits for the work, you're going to get more for it.
True.
So right now we're in a time vacuum. We're in a period of time, the days between Christmas and New Year, where everybody wastes their life. In fact, I saw something today, another mate of Tristan's, was trying to convince you to waste as many of these days as possible. I don't know if Tristan, you want to just read this out and tell us about your mate and just explain what your mate was trying to say by this, because he's your mate. He's a mate of yours. So if you could just quickly explain it to us. Here we go. You talk about your mate?
I'm not reading it.
These 6 days between Christmas and New Year is the only time of year you should strive to do absolutely fucking nothing. Make zero progress, take all the time off, go on vacation from your vacation. Be the least impressive version of yourself, transform into a couch. This is your competition. And unfortunately,
most people agree with it.
Most people agree with him. Most people are going to sit and waste these days. If I were to ask you, what did you do with the days between Christmas and New Year last year? You wouldn't even be able to tell me. They were so unremarkable, you wasted them. And the reason you are wasting them is as follows. When the final mind game is played and death awaits, you might wonder, if I did not mind, did it matter? Your moves were sand on a beach. Sand on a beach is obviously wiped out after a certain period of time. When the final mind game is played and death awaits, when you're old and you've lived your entire life, you might wonder, if I didn't mind, did it matter? This is about your integrity, your ability to fucking speak as a man. You need money for that. You have to have money to do these things. Why do you think one of the only things I was selling and I'm teaching to the world is how to make money? I'm not doing the crypto pump a dump. I'm not selling some fucking energy drink. I'm not doing no shit besides saying, guys, if you're a fan of mine and you believe in me, I'll teach you how to make money. Because I understand that the richer the people who believe in me are, the richer my circle are, the more powerful we are. I understand that. Same reason I said I'm going to launch a supplement line. I want my people to be strong and rich. That's all I want you guys to be, strong and rich. Because if you're on my side, I need soldiers who have capability. I don't need a bunch of weak brokies. You're no good to me. If you understand with what I'm saying, you need to become exceptional. That means becoming strong and rich. You must break the work, consume, die cycle. They want to keep you working, consuming bullshit, to be distracted enough to not rebel until you fucking die. That's all they want from you. Taxes paid, working your ass off on the breadline, just enough to eat, not enough to ever escape. consume bullshit, go to a Rihanna concert. Yay, Rihanna. Watch crap on fucking YouTube and get up and just sit there distracted until you fucking die. When the Roman Empire was losing wars, they put on extra circuses. That's what you do. You put on a circus. You distract the peasants until they fucking die. You must break it. You cannot resist the slave mind if you're still a slave financially. You have to find a way to make money. It is ultra important. It's like food. If you're starving, it's all you think about. But when you have an endless banquet, it's like whatever. The psychological effects of mind fuck are not yet understood. We learn nothing from the Nazi failure. Get into lockstep and lose your mind. Saying we don't truly yet understand what happens when people's minds are completely fucked up on every level. And that's the world we now live in. We're addicted to social media. We all have ADHD. We can't focus on anything. We're scrolling TikTok endlessly. We're in rooms with people we love, ignoring them, messaging people we don't even know or barely like, following girls on Instagram who are never going to fuck you, watching garbage. Your mind's fucked and you get into lockstep and you lose your mind. Lockstep is where you are believing things that are simply false. You are living inside the matrix. It's NPC world. Whatever you are told is true. They flood it to you with every single metric and medium. The people who have sold their souls to the matrix themselves, like Logan Paul, sit there with a piece of paper and read it out to you because all they care about is money. They're empty vessels. They don't have a higher purpose. They don't have a higher calling. They're not smart enough. They weren't raised the way I was raised. And they sit there and tell you to believe this garbage. You will lose your fucking mind. This is what I said at the beginning. Everyone is involved in this battle. You're either on our side, the side of sanity and the battle against the matrix, or you have lost your mind and you're going to battle against yourself and against your circumstances forever. My biggest detractors, my biggest haters, every single thing about their life is unpleasant. They look unpleasant. Their health is unpleasant. They're ugly, unattractive, hateful people. They're not happy people. They're sad people. Nobody can possibly be happy in the positions they're in. It takes physical strength and it takes competence and it takes success to be a happy person. They have none of them things. They may have a YouTube channel, but they're still overweight and objectively unattractive. They have nothing about them which is good. You don't want to be them. Being on the side of the matrix means you're just going to be in endless battles against yourself. You must control your own mind. And by extension, you're going to end up on this side of the fence. I dedicate so much of my life to you guys. I don't think you guys understand that most of you in my position would just get in the Bugatti and fuck off and just hang around with chicks and just go on yachts. I dedicate so much of my life to you guys because I truly believe it's my purpose. What else am I supposed to do? If I truly understand that I'm Emery Tate's son and I'm top G and I'm the best person on the planet and I know how to escape the matrix, am I supposed to just run away into the sunset and just fuck? Just go fuck and just buy cars and just say, oh, fuck all them? Is that what's going to make me truly happy on my deathbed? Or do I think I can actually save some of you and tell the truth and be a force for good in the world? I'll tell you something now, man. There's more to life than... It appears the insanity of the ruling elite is exposed worldwide now. They will kill you. Keep your mouths shut. Behave as sheep. I've had serious, long conversations contemplating whether they're going to try and kill me. I would like to think they're not. All I'm trying to do is teach men to be strong. If they decide to kill me on a long enough time frame, they're going to be successful. But I can't. I don't want to live in fear. Because what did I say in the earlier tenet? If I become a coward, I will live in fear and it breeds inaction. I won't be sitting here telling the truth. I want the world to know that I'd absolutely never ever kill myself under any circumstances ever, no matter what they say. I did not kill myself, ever. But that's what they want. They want you to behave as a sheep. And the insanity of the ruling elites is exposed. My father said this in 2012, 10 years ago. Imagine now. I don't want to be seen as a threat to the elites to the point where they believe I have to die. I want to be seen as a positive force for the world. And I'm going to stick true to my mission. I'm going to trust in God because I don't see what else I can do. The average human in the postmodern world works to have leisure time, work to sit and relax. We must break the work, consume, die cycle. The 25th tenet of Tateism is to acquire wealth and abundance so that you can improve your life and for those you love. As much as being strong is important, as much as being a fantastic orator is important, as much as being smart is important, we unfortunately live in a world where money is super important. You need money. Without money, you are only going to be a slave to somebody else who has the money that you need to live. You have to become rich. You can't have an opinion if you're broke because you need to rely on your job. You can't resist enslavement if you're broke. You can't say no to the injection if you're broke. You have to comply. If you truly want to be able to think for yourself and talk for yourself, you need to acquire money. You need to become strong and to acquire money. These are your number one concerns as a man. You cannot be going through life as a fucking brokey any longer.
Is that your default emotion, that you want to feel good? If someone were to say to you right now, you can choose any emotion from the menu, would you choose happy or good?
Yes.
Because this is the problem, Aiden. I'm trying to talk to you. This is the problem. Let's say I gave you a menu of emotions and said, choose an emotion. You're not going to choose sad. Who would, right?
Yeah.
But choosing happy can be just as destructive also, because if your only desire is to be happy regardless, no matter what it takes, that's when you're going to eat the cake, because the cake will make you happy. That's when you're going to take the drugs. Drugs will make you happy. Alcohol will make you happy. Hedonism makes you happy. Going to the club makes you happy. It's all dumb shit. If you were to choose proud, or if you were to choose courageous, if you were to choose a different emotion or a different feeling inside, you would have no interest in these things. So I don't wake up and think, how do I feel happy? I don't wake up and say, will this drug make me happy? I have no interest in being happy. I wake up and say, how can I be proud of myself? What can I achieve that makes me proud of myself? How can I do things that make other people respect me and are proud of me? How do I have a day which I complete when I come home? The woman who's in my house says, wow, there's no man like you. How do I live a life so my children look at me and go, Dad's a superhero? How do I make my mother call me and say, I couldn't possibly be more proud of you? I choose proud. I don't choose happy. So if you were to say to me, this cup of juice will make you happy, I'd say, I don't want it. What do I want to be happy for?
Damn.
I want to be proud of myself.
That's some real shit, bro.
So
Damn.
what do you do to make you proud of yourself, and what do you do to make others proud of you? Tell me something in the last 48 hours you've done that's worthy of pride. You've slept, jerked off, talked shit on the internet, text some stupid hoes in Miami or wherever you are. Have you done anything else with your life?
I mean everything I said here. I mean that female empowerment is modesty. A woman who is powerful doesn't have to be ogled and stared at by random men, because when she decides to cover up, she's saving herself for the people she cares about or believe gets to see her. That is empowerment. I believe girls who get constantly naked on the internet are not empowering themselves. They're actually embarrassing themselves. I do believe that. Did I once profit from that 15 years ago? Yes.
You know what's quite interesting about America? I've always found this interesting, is that American wealth is quite centralized. Like, I grew up in England. I'm born in America. I grew up in England. If you get rich in England, you consider a house in Spain, or you consider a house in Dubai, or you consider a house in Italy. If you get rich in America, you consider a house in California or Miami. It's all kind of there.
Yeah.
Most people don't consider other places. They consider another state.
Absolutely.
That's how America kind of is. I think once large swaths of the American population, especially the wealth, start to think, you know what, we might need something somewhere else, that there's going to be a huge brain drain and wealth drain. And you highlighted earlier how much debt they're in. I mean, they can't afford these kind of things. They can't afford all of the money to start saying, you know what, we don't feel safe here anymore. And
you got all the wealthy in the country now building bunkers.
I mean, I have to respect the patriotism of Americans. I mean, they want to fight it out to the end, and I respect that absolutely. But there's going to be a large group of people, and the reason I'm saying this is because of England. I think England last year lost 7 or 8% of its millionaires. Everyone left. Everyone went to Dubai, Italy, Spain. Anyone with money looked around at the crime and just thought, I'm out. Once that starts happening, you have real problems, because then the country gets poorer, and then the poor get poorer, and then they want more from the government. So the person who wins is the person who promises them even more. That took about further down the rabbit hole to socialism, further down the rabbit hole to forever country debt, further down the rabbit hole to needing the government to survive. And this is what happens. America was built on individual exceptionalism and rich people paying taxes and building these big companies and all this brilliance. And it's just collapsing in real time with envy and pettiness and hatred. Man, it's sad to see. It's sad to see because, I mean, you say you're 73, I'm 37. The other way around. I'll be alive to watch all this stuff.
Yes.
And the world is speeding up. What used to take 100 years now takes 10.
Quick, right.
I mean, I really think in 50 years, America is going to be a completely different place. And how it looks, I think it depends on this election, and it's kind of scary. And I feel like, I guess one of the reasons I'm anxious, I've done this, Michael. I've looked at a globe. Okay, where do I go? You end up looking at Iceland and Svalbard and these tiny little islands. I mean,
What does anyone really want? You want your family safe. You want to be treated fairly under the law.
Yes.
You want to be left alone. Isn't it remarkable that that's so hard to find? They don't like objective truth. They want to see a truth that makes them feel good. This is the thing that's so interesting about morality, because I argue these things all the time, especially when it comes to immigration. People say, oh, but people need a better life, and they believe they're moral. But they can't think one step further down the chessboard. Okay, you believe you're moral allowing people into the country without a passport. You believe you're doing the right thing.
Oh.
If those people kill people, that's not a moral decision to make. Can't you think one layer deeper? Can't you understand you're destroying the country and innocents are dying? Can't you understand you're encouraging more people to now flee that country and some of them will die on the way? Like, you're not even making a moral decision. What's so interesting to me is that not only are these people stupid, but somehow they believe. And even, I think it's a mistake of us as well. Sometimes we talk about them like they have a mindset of morality that we don't quite have. We try and sound like we're the hard, tough ones. And we sit and say, like, well, listen, I'm realistic and you're idealistic and you're more, you have these moral ideals. No, our ideals are moral. Protection is moral. Preventing bad things happening to the people who are already in the country is moral. Preventing a breakdown of services is moral. Making sure the people who tried to get into America legally and followed the system are rewarded is moral. Law and order, these things are moral. You need to have these things. It's actually immoral to say that all the rules can constantly be broken. I've heard that from a lot of people. The world has ended a lot of times. The world has ended many times before, and like, a new world comes from it, but the world can end and people can experience a world-ending event. Imagine you lived in, I don't know, Hamburg in World War II. It pretty much would feel like the world was ending.
Yeah.
I mean, the planes are dropping bombs and everybody's dying, the whole place is on fire and there's nowhere to go and Germany's gonna lose, and if you have any kind of money or resource or brain, you might be able to run to surrender to the Americans, because if you surrender to the Russians, you're in big trouble. The world ends and bad things happen. And a new world is built from it, but there is always a generation of people who have to experience the world ending. And I feel like we might be that generation this time. Like, something's gonna happen big. And it's gonna be nasty and it's gonna be ugly and there's gonna be a world-ending event. And then you have to look and, like you said, what galvanizes people, what keeps people together enough to resist these kind of things? What's gonna keep humanity together? What's going to keep America together? What's going to keep people functioning? I mean, my theories, and I've talked about this on podcasts, is I believe the next version of humanity is going to be a technological empire where they control absolutely everything we've ever done. I think that technology is going to be used against us, and we're going to have QR codes in our arms, and they're going to know everywhere we go, and they're going to know everything we say, and they're going to know where we drive, and we're going to have carbon credits, and a certain amount of money is going to be allowed to us. I think all of that's coming, which is, of course, a form of slavery. I guess you have to ask, are the elites happy to let America all blow up so they can come along and implement that? Maybe they need the fire to implement it. Maybe they need the forest fire. People have only ever given up their freedom for safety. It's all you give up your freedom for, right? If you say, you're taking away my freedom, if they say, yes, but you'll be safe. COVID proved that.
Yeah.
So maybe they want it all to burn. Maybe they have no intention of stopping it from burning. Maybe they want it to get worse and worse until it gets to a point where people will do anything to feel safe again, including stamp that QR code on their forehead.
Yeah.
And then you just get to live as a machine, I guess, and that's the human spirit and human ingenuity gone. I mean, once artificial intelligence outpaces the human mind, which isn't far off, what do they even need individual exceptionalism for? What do they need your life experiences and your ability to articulate them for, when they have an AI machine that can do it 1,000 times better?
Yeah.
What's left for humanity besides being slave drones who obey, with no one who's particularly exciting or excellent or interesting or different? The AI handles all of that. The machine keeps us all in control. The server's buried underneath a mountain somewhere. The elites are on God knows which island. And we're just left with the mess. And there will be a point in history, I really believe this, even when I go through my problems or you recently got matrix attacked, I really think they're going to look back to this period in history to see who was trying to say what's going to happen. I really believe this is the point they're going to say, you know what, it was around the 2025, 2035, something could have stopped what ended up happening. Who even realized? And perhaps I get some solace from at least knowing we'll be on the right side of it all, because I really don't think anyone's going to look back on our points of view and think we were
I'm honestly,
It's going to be a signal to the rest of the world that now's the time to hit America.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, look all the things people have done under Biden.
yeah.
Like, I understand Putin and I understand his motivations, and I believe he has the will to really do the best for the Russian people. I believe all of that. I believe he's competent. I believe he's smart. But I also don't believe he would have done what he did under Trump.
No way.
I believe he
No
knew.
way.
I believe he knew it's now or never.
No way.
It's now or never, and we're going to do it. Because Putin cares about Russia. And when you care about Russia, you want America weak. Did you ever watch the Tucker Carlson interview with Putin?
I watched some of it, yeah.
And people were expecting Putin to say the same things.
Yeah.
I found this really interesting because Putin talks on stage how America's run by Satanists, globo homo, they're destroying the family unit, America's going to collapse, it's going to implode under its own decadence. He says all these things. And everyone was really worried. The whole establishment, the Matrix media machine, was coming hard on Tucker, saying if he interviews Putin, he deserves to go to jail, he's a traitor. And when he sat down with Putin, Putin didn't say any of that. Putin talked about Russian history for an hour, all the way back to the year 700. And then when they asked him questions about America, he said, I'm not really that interested in what America does. I'm interested in what Russia does. I don't really care. And he said nothing really of significance. And people were sitting there a bit confused, saying, why didn't
expect the devil to come out in him?
Yeah, they're like,
see the devil.
That's right. They're like, why didn't Putin tell the American population that they're run by Satanists? Why didn't he say the things he always says normally? Why didn't he wake people up? Putin doesn't want the Americans awake.
Right.
Putin wants Russia to win. We may look at Putin with respect because we understand he knows how to run a country. Putin doesn't want the Americans to understand we're run by Satanists. He wants us to sleepwalk into oblivion so that Russia can win.
Exactly.
So he sat there and made sure he said nothing that's going to wake up the average American person. People in China, the leaders of China, leaders of Russia, leaders of the Middle East, etc., they're waiting for America to collapse.
Yeah.
And in many ways, truthfully, I believe they're praying for Kamala to win. There's some of them sitting there going, if they mess this up, they're going to give us another chance to put another nail in that coffin. This is why they attack masculinity so hard, because masculinity is very logically based. Femininity as a whole is emotionally based. And the reason they try and spread femininity and feminism and put women in charge and bring a matriarchy around and feminize men is because once people think emotionally, nothing is real anymore. Nothing is true or false. It's all about, can you convince them of, can you scare them enough? Can you give them enough of an argument to? It's not a matter of logically it doesn't make sense. It's, well, I feel. I feel I'm a good person if. Well, then it's wide open, right? There's no longer, it doesn't make any sense. There are people who truly believe that there shouldn't be a border to a country and that countries don't need borders and that's racist to have a border.
Yeah.
You know what's so interesting about these arguments? Every Islamic country has a border. Every African country has a border. China has a border. Russia has a border. There's not a country in the world without a border, besides these Western nations that are self-imploding. You know, we talk about morality, and you gauge morality. It's interesting because I was also talking to someone else, and they were saying, well, what are you supposed to do at the southern border? And I said, I'll tell you what I would do. And this will get a lot of people calling me immoral, but this is what I would do. I'd build a wall. I'd give a 2-week notice so everybody understood. It'd be blasted in every language from loudspeakers and it'd be all over all the news. You have 2 weeks until we start using deadly force. Don't come near this wall. Nobody would get accidentally shot because they've been warned and they knew.
Right.
That's what you do, because if you're not prepared to pull the trigger, what can you do? I mean, water cannons, fences, you can do X, Y, Z, you can pick them up, you can try and deport them. They're going to keep coming. They're going to keep coming. You think Russia doesn't use deadly force at its border?
Of course.
You think China doesn't use deadly force at its border? You think United Arab Emirates and Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait, you think every country in the world uses deadly force at its border? And I guess I'm just hoping to come to you for some answers about, they're coming for our children. That's obvious. We don't have a border anymore. Throughout history, the hill to die on was always your land, your women, your children. They've taken it all. What's it going to take for people to finally wake up? What's the hill to die on?
No.
What's the hill to die on? What's left? We're going to inflate the currency to the point where both parents are working, so you barely see your own kids because you can't afford to be at home. There is no mom staying home with the kids anymore.
Right.
No, you're both working to pay a job. They're going to go to school. You're not going to have any idea what the educational board's going to teach them. They're going to be on the internet. We're going to push all this transgender garbage to the front of YouTube. We're going to push it all to the front. So The actual beginning of the PSYOP is removing the parental control over the child, letting the school and the internet raise them, forcing that full of propaganda, and then the final nail in the coffin is once they've been brainwashed and PSYOPed, because you as a parent, by the time you finish work, clean the house, you have an hour a day with your kids if you're lucky, competing with 12 hours a day of indoctrination. Then you don't have a say over what your child then decides to do after being brainwashed by the machine. And the machine is deliberately designed to be as addictive as possible. It's designed to be entertaining, designed to get clicks, designed to be congested and watched and ingested, and you're supposed to sit there and they stare at these screens for hours a day. And then finally, when push comes to shove, you're not allowed to stop them. That is the final nail in the coffin. It's absolutely incredible. And that's why they have no problem with inflating the currency and putting both parents out to work and sending your kids off to school to some educational board to teach them absolute garbage. I think they were doing this also with vaccines. They were vaccinating kids without their opinion.
Absolutely.
Without their permission.
Absolutely.
I mean, they came for the kids, they came for the land. Your women aren't safe to walk the street anymore. I don't know what hill we're supposed to die on. I don't know what it's going to take for people to realize that. Maybe people just aren't well traveled enough. You know, there are first world nations where you can walk around safely. Your kids aren't taught garbage. Men, women, family. Like, there's a lot of countries. There's so many beautiful cities in the world you can go to where you ain't got to worry about anything bad happening to you. You can wear a nice watch. You can drive a nice car. These places do exist. In America, we seem to believe that it'd be impossible to have a large city without these issues. I can name 20. Yeah. They're all over the world. But you know, I don't understand how any red-blooded male with half a brain isn't slightly anxious in the world today.
Got to be.
If you have half a protective instinct inside of you,
Have to be.
you have to be thinking as you go to sleep at night, what am I going to do if this happens? And if you're not thinking that way, perhaps you're part of the problem, because it's glaringly obvious what their intentions are. And their intentions are to lock up anyone who talks about what they're going to do and burn it all to the ground for themselves. That's the intention. You want to talk about removing responsibility. Well, to remove responsibility, you remove accountability, right?
Yep.
If you're sitting in front of a pile of money and nobody knows who you are, you can steal it. If there's a big pile of money and they say Andrew Tate's sitting in front of that money, as soon as something's missing, they know who to go for.
They know where to go.
So we don't even have accountability, which is the most basic point and one of the tenets of democracy in the first place, to know who's supposed to be in charge so we know who's responsible for things. It's just passing the buck, lying, shadow orgs, this forever bureaucrats who've been in power for 20, 30 years. I mean, I don't even know. I'm sure there's some position somewhere deep in the government where you get to make perhaps not laws, but regulations.
Yeah.
What's the difference? You just do them as you want. Nobody knows your name. Exactly. And you operate with impunity, and you've been there forever. And, I mean, Putin did say one very interesting thing in his conversation with Tucker when Tucker was trying to press Putin about the Ukraine war.
Yeah, he wouldn't respond.
He wouldn't really respond, but he did allude to something. He said, well, I don't talk to Biden, I don't talk to the president. He said, my security service is, they speak to the CIA. So I guess the CIA is in charge.
Yeah.
Are they democratically elected?
No. Oh, no.
I mean, I guess the CIA are in charge now. That's a guess. But there's a lot of people now trying to put their fingers in this pie and walk out with a whole bunch of it, and there doesn't seem to be very much left for the common person. And they finally win. Now there's no such thing as truth. You ignore your own eyes. No matter what your eyes tell you, you believe the news over your eyes. And how do they do that? Well, they do that by forcing you to at least say it. Most people in most jobs, they'll lose their job if they don't say it.
Absolutely.
They have to say it.
They have to say it.
If you say it enough, eventually you'll stop thinking the opposite.
Yeah.
And they just slowly grind down the population. That's what they're going to do until eventually. You know, it's kind of interesting. People often think that a lot of things are done for money, and a lot of them are. But money is power, and it's the power they really want.
100%.
I mean, you know better than me. Money gets boring. Power never really gets boring.
It's all about the power.
Power stays fun.
Absolutely.
And you always want more.
Absolutely. It's all about money and power.
And that's what they really want. And they're prepared to destroy the entire economy and set it all on fire because they print the money anyway.
Yeah.
They'll have food. They'll be fine. But they want you on your knees begging.
Yeah.
That's what they want. If you were to ask the average person in America what makes a good person, and you were to say, well, a person who stands up for what he believes is right, and a person who defends his family, and a person who works hard and a person who, comes home every night to his kids, whatever. I guarantee you, no matter what you give as an answer, there's going to be a lot of people who would disagree with it. Go, that's not a good person, actually. Feminists say you're a bad man if you try and protect and provide for a woman.
Right.
I had Piers Morgan sit there, who I actually half the time. When I said my woman doesn't have to work unless she wants to, she doesn't have to work. He attacked me for that, as if I was a terrible person because, but why wouldn't she work? Well, if she wants to work, she can work, but she doesn't need to work. Well, why not? Because she doesn't need to, because it's my job to protect and provide. I provide for her. She doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to. Oh, well, that's misogynistic. Why?
Why? What was his response to that? Why?
Well, he didn't have much of an answer. He was just like, because he was trying to accuse me of being misogynistic for believing that men should be coarsened by the difficulties of life, and that a woman's beauty and what's attractive in a woman often is her innocence and her purity. You don't want a woman. I would hate to be with a woman who's been through what I've been through. It would scare me.
Yeah,
like, you're still alive?
Yeah.
She'd probably be a psychopath. She'd probably be dangerous. You add in the trauma we've been through, plus some female emotionality, plus the ruthlessness of survival many women have. She'd be more dangerous than any man. I wouldn't want to be around her.
I agree.
Women are there to be protected. We've always understood that. I don't know why even that's controversial now. Absolutely. Why do us men suffer and work at all? Why do we struggle and take all the risks we took to get rich? It's so we can let other people not work. There's a beautiful poem. It's an Arabic poem, and I don't know it word for word. And I can't even quote who made it. I think it was a warlord or a king, but he said, "Stress is mine, happiness is yours. Pain is mine, joy is yours. But you are mine." And he's like, I suffer, and you get the good side of my suffering, but you're mine. And that's the masculine essence in the first place. That's the reason. I mean, look at Christmas Day. Dad gets the worst presents. Exactly. He gives the presents.
He gets a tie.
That's right. That's what men are supposed to do. And that's why we work all year long. And there's a lot of men who are up there now. I mean, I don't know if you saw this in Iceland. Did you see the female strike in Iceland?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, that was amazing. Yeah. All the women went on strike because they were complaining they don't get paid as much as men, and the country worked just fine.
Yeah. Yes.
They disproved their point, absolutely. All the HR departments, all the little emails didn't get sent. The roads still worked, the electricity was still on.
Right.
Let all the men stop going to work for a week, right. And you'll see. Men are out here suffering all day, every day to protect and provide. But somehow that makes you a bad person. That actually makes you oppressive.
Yeah.
If you make more money than your wife, that's because you're an oppressive. It's the patriarchal system and it's the gender pay gap, and you're oppressive and you're trying to oppress her.
Right. And demean her.
And demean her because you're out there working your ass off for her.
Yeah.
I have a few theories on who it is and when it started, but I think primarily there's a subsect of the population who are interested in their own bloodline and their own power and their own control, and they're only interested in protecting their own profits, and they understand that the enemy to their profits are going to be the ambitions and the morality of the common man. Having ambitious, moral, perspicacious, normal citizens who can pay attention, who have a strong belief in honor and duty and dignity, and they want to work hard and they want to have a good life for themselves, they're going to be the enemy of these forever prophets and these people who are trying to exploit society. And I feel like their intention has always been to reduce the power of their enemies. What we do, right? That's how war works. You want to reduce the power of your enemy, and they've just come along and thought, the biggest troublemakers, the biggest people who stand in the way to our plan are the moral, are the men who are not afraid, are the brave men who love their family. So let's try and get rid of the bravery. Let's try and get rid of the courage. Let's try and get rid of the family that they were prepared to die for. Let's